Thank you all. Welcome to the Corporate Service Committee meeting, the Upper Shire Council held on the 14th of November. Call this meeting open at 9 AM and we'll begin by going through the standards. There being no applications for attendance to the video link, as I can see all councillors attending. And there being no apologies. Mr. Phelps.
Through Mr. Chair, no apologies received. We have one apology from the General Manager, who is not here for this meeting.
Take vote on that. Remember, Councillor Shields, and second, Councillor Starr, all those in favour. Disclosures of interest.
Through you, Mr. Chair, no disclosure of interest received today.
Very good. And I don't believe we've got any public participation today.
Mr. Chair, no public participation today.
That's a shame. I'm getting a little bit weirded out. Somebody's turned the volume up on these mics here. I think it's probably a good thing, but it's just a bit different. But with that, Mr. Phelps, if you could lead us forward with the financial summary and investment report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just moving down through on page 3 there, as you can see right down the bottom there, the financial summary to the end of October is a positive variance budget of 348,000 compared to a positive variance in the previous month of 3.54 million. There are a number of items that are up and down throughout the result to the end of October. Moving through just in the high level, from an operating revenue point of view, we're up by about $1.4 million. The main contributors behind this, we've got people and cultural revenue up by 77,000, which is very pleasing, just through increased trainee and apprenticeship subsidies with the new government incentive that's in place at the moment. So we've got a multitude of apprentices and trainees on at the moment. I think there's been 5 new ones put on, and we're pushing that up to about 12 by the end of hopefully the end of the next couple of months. Government Place, its revenue is up by 86,000, which is pleasing. Personal care subsidies mainly from the department, which is just through resident dependencies over there in the facility. Early Learning Centre is up in revenue by 230. Continued strong utilisation over there at the facility. And also we received a milestone payment, which is about 144,000 of it, which is in regards to the family daycare business. We received some funding to try and improve its persona in the community, to try and generate more educators to take some childcare services.
Two things that are good. Are we running full capacity on the ELC?
We're licensed to 57 and we're running just over 50 children at the moment.
Okay, so there's still a couple of spaces. I just noticed there's no movement on the private facility that was spoken of last year.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I know that there's a number of facilities, I think in total there's about 4 that are kicking around at the moment.
Sure.
But we haven't seen any structural indications that things are moving ahead with those at this point in time.
If I could start, what's our level of staffing like there? Are we a full complement or are we missing people?
We still always have vacancies through Mr. Chair. Through Councillor Fraser's benefit, it's probably always vacancies over there, and we're always susceptible to losing staff. There's a high turnover within that industry, obviously, but we have the capacity is sitting just above 50, so we have 2 ECTs on at the moment, or waves attached to those ECTs, which is early childhood teachers. But there is always a couple of vacancies always on the sideline.
Noting the revenues are higher by 230,000 utilisation, if there was a full complement of staff, would it be the position that council breaks even, or is it a loss-making exercise?
At this point in time, it would make money. it would turn surplus coming through. However, if we lost an ECT, it turns into a loss-making facility. Because effectively, based on one ECT, you can only have 39 children in the facility coming through.
The 39 is a critical number then.
Correct, yeah, so 39 is, if it drops to that, we start losing money. But as we've got 2 ECTs in place, we can build that up over the 50 student mark.
Through you, Mr Chair, just on that staffing issue, an ECT, is that degree or diploma qualified or is it certificate? Diploma qualified.
So, yes.
Yeah, so just on the family daycare centre, trying to boost participation in that, does a family daycare operator need to be Cert 3 qualified or?
Their facility needs to be family daycare compliant.
Compliant, yeah.
Yeah, so that needs to be in place. But they do need, I've taken on notice to give the correct educational requirements, but they would need some form of educational certificate.
Yeah, I only asked that question because I came across a former student of mine the other day who was doing family daycare or early childhood as part of her HSC, and I was surprised to hear that the Cert 3 in early child education is the equivalent of 4 units in the HSC, which makes it a pretty significant course, and I'm just thinking about how we manage to get people through that.
I suppose through the chair, the industry itself is pretty regulated. So that's why you need the qualifications within that area, because it is quite important that the kids receive the best care that they can.
Yeah, I'm not arguing against it. I'm just stating that the qualifications are remarkable.
Yeah. Right, moving down to real estate. Here we're up by about 71,000 today, so we've had a little bit higher in commercial rental revenue coming through. A little bit of a budgeting timing there. We've got the radio towers from last year we brought into account, which is about 30,000, but we're still up by about 30,000 overall, which has been quite pleasing.
Have we caught up on some of the late payments?
With a couple of our late payers coming through, we're pushing those towards debt collection at this point in time. There's a couple of items for a cafe and so forth that we will be putting into debt collection. Moving into our sale yards area, our revenue was high by about 100k, which has been quite pleasing. Our numbers have been quite buoyant, which is very, very pleasing from that angle.
Sorry, capital revenue wants to report. It was 1,573 yards this week for all councils, so that's 400 or 500 above budget. If we can keep ticking along, that's really good.
It's possibly a little concerning that too, maybe symptom of the growing weather that we have an increase in numbers, it might not be a sustainable situation as well.
Yes, definitely taking on that council proposal. But we are in a buoyant situation at this point in time, but that can turn rather quickly.
Unfortunately, sometimes the buoyancy that we see means a negative impact on the people actually selling cattle.
Yeah. The general purpose revenue was up by about 105,000, just increased a little bit in our annual rating, just through some supplementary lists, as well as lower pension and concessions to date, and a little bit higher in return. So obviously, as pension and concessions come through, that 105 will reduce slightly. Public cemeteries is up by about 39,000, so there's been a bit of movement in buying plots and columbariums and so forth for interments. So
Through you, Mr Chair, should we be concerned about the number of people in our shire who are dying?
Well, no, it's going to happen to everyone eventually. As long as it's not untimely.
yes, very true.
I just wonder if the rate has increased though, is there something behind
No, this is preempting death, unfortunately. It's actually buying it for the future.
So through you, Mr Chair, so we're not actually digging holes at the moment, is that what you're telling me?
Yes, only in the normal course, we're digging holes. Yes, we'll equal those mortgage tax loans, I think. Moving into town planning, our revenue is by about 174,000. Increased stat fee, which is quite pleasing from a planning point of view, as well as section 94 development contributions, which is very pleasing as well. So there's been activity in regards to the area, which is good overall for the community and the economy as it stands. Sewerage services up by about 119,000, just again with the increase in development contributions, you've got section 64 contributions as well coming through. So that's increased that and interest on investments. The water revenue is high by 280, so higher than expected access charges, as well as the consumption for the first quarter. So
Through Mr Chair, just curious with the water revenue being higher, does that take into account the usage of the sale yards of the water, or is that separate?
through Mr Chair, yes, no, all encompassing, all commercial water is included in that item in the budget.
Thank you.
Moving into the non-operating revenue expenses, internal fleet hire lower by about 50k. We're continuing to monitor that. We've just looked at a number of documents in regards to review of all our fleet and utilisation of our fleet, and we're going into a situation where we'll be looking at whether or not we maintain that fleet to the level that they are at the moment, or dispose of unutilised plant coming through. A lot of the unutilised side of fleet, however, is having operators available to utilise that fleet. So that's the other factor involved with our internal fleet hire. Overall, in operating expenditure, nearly spot on overall. However, there's a lot of movements inside itself that are ups and downs. Our overall corporate entities coming through, which effectively includes finance and HR, IT and the like. All the initial costs are lower than expected coming through, and we've had a number of vacancies in place. So the main contributor to that is with the lower fleet utilisation coming through, our fleet costs have been lower by about 100,000 as well. So so we haven't had as many breakages, which has been quite pleasing. Community services is lower by about 47,000. In the community services area, there's a number of vacancies at the moment, which we're looking at coming through. So as it stands, we've got a couple of positions vacant in that area. Government place hostel costs higher by about 65,000. So pretty well got a positive overall variance coming through when you look at the higher revenue. But it's just still the increase in the staffing for the agency coming through, but we're monitoring those costs as we can.
The increase in revenue due to needs of patients, corresponding to needs of patients, is offset by the expenses in India. I mean, one balances the other, surely.
Yes.
Well, they ought to. I mean, if the increased needs generate more income, the increased needs also need to absorb more money to meet those needs. So
Correct. Yeah.
unless there's a distinct profit margin,
No.
that's going to balance the other eventually.
You can always have councillor Fraser, there is a proper margin, but there isn't. Youth services costs are lower by 65,000. We've had lower costs in regards to due to staff vacancies within the youth services as well as the IPP activity. So we're reviewing that at this point in time and utilising some external contracting youth advisors coming through, looking after the EIPP area. Private works costs are higher by 23. At the moment, we're going through invoicing a lot of those private works jobs out. So we're going through that process at the moment. So there'll be an increase in revenue coming through for next month. Tourism and promotion is higher by about 40,000. Here we've just got higher wages for the tourism coordinator. We're we're reviewing the budget at the moment and we'll probably bring through a vote. With our Hunter Warbirds ceasing, we had a lot of the cost for our tourism coordinator included in the Hunter Warbirds, which we didn't make the allowance coming through, so that's a part in our budget when we've done that. So we'll bring that into account coming through for next month. Stormwater costs are lower by 33,000, just lower maintenance activities undertaken today. Town planning and building costs are both lower, one by 160 and the other by 37. General staffing vacancy within those two areas. It's again, we've got staffing issues for certified and surveying roles, and also some leave taken for some of the staff. So lower by that coming through. Animal costs, again, lower.
Through you, Mr Chair. Those staffing vacancies in those areas, town planning and building, is that meaning that we are slow to approve DAs? Is there a choke point there that is affecting the way we do business?
Through you, Mr Chair, I'll take it on notice to find out the stats for you, but I don't believe there is a choke point there. I think that we're maintaining a good service capacity coming through in regards to DA assessments and sending back out to the mix.
The other concern, of course, is that you're having the same amount of work done by less people. And eventually you're probably going to end up with further staffing issues if all work's been pushed on a lesser number of people. It's just something I've raised that it's probably something that ought to be in front of mind. That while there isn't a choke point now, if you continue to load up the same donkey, eventually the donkey's going to quit.
Yeah, through Mr Chair, definitely take that on board. And we're very mindful of that as well. So we're actively trying to secure services of additional staffing, but with the skill sets coming through, it's like against Steve at the moment, which is not good. We will look at private contractors as well to try and bring it in, but that reduces the band for buck effectively. Private public library costs are higher by about 47,000, just a little bit higher in salaries. We've had a little bit of a change in the management of the libraries with a long-term staff member retiring. And we're sort of just getting that in at this point in time. We've bought a lot of our books already for the year, so we're probably purchased a lot of resources, which effectively will see a benefit at the back end of the year.
Are numbers kept on the utilisation of the libraries?
Through you, Mr Chair, we do keep stats on libraries, and we can make them available to you.
What am I saying at some stage?
Yep, take that on notice. Moving into the sporting grounds, higher by 81,000 today, just servicing of the grounds is higher than expected. Water rates have been up a little bit, so we'll continue to monitor that, but we've got to maintain our facilities. School swimming pools are higher by about 55,000. We've repainted Scone and Runway. They desperately needed a repaint, so we've gone through and repainted both of those facilities, so that's why it's a little bit higher today. We do have a little bit of money in the back end of the year, which we may not need to spend, so that should reduce over the course of the financial year. Aerodrome costs are lower by 41,000, so we're settling into the new operating model out there, and it's a little bit less in cost than what we anticipated, which is quite pleasing. Local roads, admin and staff training is higher by 97, just higher than expected salaries and training activities today. We're reviewing those costs at the moment and looking at whether or not we can reallocate some of that cost to capital projects, especially with the salary side of things. So we're undertaking that review at this point in time. Local roads and regional roads maintenance is higher by 547. Higher than expected maintenance required on the road network today. That budget is being monitored at this point in time. We don't want to let it get out of control because it is the biggest part of our budget. So we're going through and mindfully looking at those costs. And we may have to adjust our spectrum in regards to maintenance and pull back slightly. Flood restoration works is 214 lower, so that's where a lot of our work focus may shift. So we may shift from the maintenance of our normal roads to the roads that are flood affected, and we'll start doing the maintenance on those roads coming through. So there will be a factor of maintenance overall, but it's just a matter of different focuses coming through. Water costs are higher by 213,000. Just increased maintenance in our mains and pumping stations at the moment. We had a budget meeting in regards to that only a couple of days ago. There is some capital items in that 213,000, which the manager of water and sewer are actually going through and reallocating those costs at this point in time. So we'll pull that back into our capital budget area. Moving into our capital cost area, I have spent about $8 million overall. Items that mainly make up the $1 million, we've got the waste facility at Scone Entrance Road. It was in desperate need of maintenance and repair, especially with a lot of the road traffic coming down there. It's higher by about 57,000. We'll bring in a vote at the next meeting or the December quarterly meeting. And it'll be about another 30,000 on top of that. So that will bring that road up to a spec that won't be deteriorating like it is at the moment, which is very, very poor. It'll be funded out of obviously the waste facilities RA that we do hold, so it'll be no cost to council's bottom line. Scone Park upgrade, 136,000 higher. We've done all the drainage in regards after the construction of the Scone Tennis Club.
What happened there?
With regards to the Scone Tennis Club, the drainage side of things wasn't sufficient coming through, so the engineers reviewed it and they required actually a lot of drainage work to be undertaken. We believe that the tennis club was built a little lower than what it could have been, which made it a drainage issue at Scone Park. So we had to actually go through the process of correcting it and enhancing the drainage for future development at the facility, which we ultimately would have had to done, but we've had to do it in advance after the construction of the tennis club.
It's a shame that wasn't identified during the planning phase and addressed in the DA.
And that's you, Mr. Chair, yes.
Yeah, all right.
It's very sensitive. It's pretty interesting. So what we're talking about is the building was built lower than it was supposed to be. We're talking about that brand new building.
Yeah.
So there is a serious issue there about how that DA was approved or whatever. You know, if we said go ahead and build and we didn't get that right, that's
through Mr. Chair, we definitely have taken that on board and reviewing what actually happened.
Have staff members responsible being counselled or otherwise?
Through that council, that's mainly operational and.
Yeah, I'm aware of that, but.
It's one of those things that has happened. And we've looked at it and we've corrected the issue from a drainage perspective, which ultimately would have had to be done anyway based on the development out there of the possible grandstand going in, or upgrade down there when we're looking at it. But unfortunately it's the way it is, and the drainage had to be correct anyway. There was a need for fixing of the drainage at Scone Park. So we put a number of pits in now, stormwater pits, and capturing all the water. Moving into our water park complex, the camping sites, they're all but done, so we've increased our camping capacity down there, which is quite good. We'll be obtaining a contribution that the Scone RSL Club has provided for us to cover some of the cost of that camping, which is quite pleasing. So that will come through and we'll be finalising those and moving forward. Local and regional reseals are higher by 100,000, just the initial prep work we've been undertaking, so we've brought that forward coming through the mix. Main Road 62 repair works, it's higher, the most by about 55k. Pretty well all the works is complete for that now. We did have initially about $1.5 million in the budget for Main Road 62. All the scope has been completed, which has been quite pleasing. So we're looking at that scope to see whether or not we can further enhance that out further coming through. A lot of that work is funded by Roads to Recovery, so as well as the local roads and community infrastructure funding. So that's been quite pleasing. Rural road reshooting is higher by 111,000. We're progressing with our reshooting program. We'll review the remaining schedule, however, because the budget is being chewed up pretty quickly. So we'll go through that process in the mix. Wallart Road works is lower by 140,000 today. We're waiting for the final costings to come through. That's been fully funded by the BP Light Source over there. So about a $1.5 million project that's been fully funded. Glenmore Dam pipeline upgrade, higher by about 535, which is effectively the majority of the cost, which has gone through council reports already in regards to that. We've got a vote coming through for the 400,000, which council agreed to at the last council meeting, so we'll put that through. Still a little bit higher than overall though, so we'll review the overall cost at the end of the day. Sewer renewal works is higher by about 100,000. Our renewal program is continuing, it's still a bit higher than today, so it's mainly just a timing thing. So when we can get the renewal works done, we'll get them done. As long as it's within overall budget. So as you can see, the total variance is higher by about 348,000. Moving down to our budget position, nothing has changed. We're pretty well still sitting on no net effect to the budget overall. We've got one vote that's coming through, which you'll see in the schedules coming up, which is effectively for the $412,000 towards water, which is 461 less GST as per the council resolution. Bank funds just below $20 million at the moment. 19.33 of that is sitting in our investment portfolio, which we've got a schedule attached. External loans 2.69, another schedule attached for that as well. Internal loans coming through, so as you can see there, we've drawn down the balance of that loan, which then we'll be repaying that back. So we were starting to receive a lot of our grant funding that was outstanding at the end of June. So we'll continue to receive that over the course of the next 3 months, with a number of these projects and acquittals being finalised.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So 6 million's out of the water and sewer fund, it's normally 10. What's remaining currently in that water and sewer fund?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we only required 6 because the 10 million was prior year, which we fully repaid, and it come the end of this new loan facility. That's 6 million over a 2-year period. In the water and sewer fund, actual balance fund, which you can't touch their section 64 contributions, but overall you've got the water fund still sitting at about $500,000 in positive after the drawdown, and the sewer fund's about 1.5 to 2 million.
Thank you.
Moving down into our restricted asset area, the only movement in our restricted asset area will be pulling out the 400,000 towards the additional works at Glenmore Dam. So you'll see that coming through.
Hang on a second. 400,000 come from restricted assets. How's that being done? What fund is that being built from?
That's from the water fund. So the water fund is funding the renewal works at Glenmore Dam, the pipeline. So it's all the balance of the water funds that we hold, inclusive of that loan that comes out and everything. So no cost to the general fund.
So 100,000.
No, that's including the 500. Yeah. So that the 500 is inclusive of all the movements already. So we always want to maintain funds in the water fund. so that we can actually pay wages and so forth like that.
We're not paying wages from the water fund.
That was as per resolution that we voted on, to draw that down. I do have a question on this, was there any level of impulsivity on this project? Because when the damage was done, there was still plenty of forecast of torrential rains and the like. We seem to get into this very quickly. Was there and it's a very subjective question, I'm sorry, Wayne, but to me, I was concerned that there was a level of haste around this. I do understand that there was great concerns of the engineering. Have we balanced this up well? Risk that we've taken on has cost $500,000. Was this project needed to be done as quickly as it was with the forecast that we had at the time? And has that been a discussion that's been had?
Through Mr. Chair, I think all the meetings and so forth within council itself and with councillors, I think that depicted where the importance of the decisions all came from. It was an item that had to be done. The actual works needed to be done because there was a major risk attached to that, obviously. But the unfortunate weather events and so forth that did happen that weren't really taken into account made it difficult.
I suppose my question, if I'm to pose it a little bit more succinctly, I suppose, there's not so much. I mean, I respect people that can make decisions and get in front of things. Now, there was obviously a strong engineering risk in this state. I'm just making sure that or inquiring as to our systems involved around risk, whether this one hit the risk matrix at the higher point where we basically lost $500,000 on this, and it was out of water funds. So that's a substantial cost to the organisation, but we're pretty dry as it is. We're confident that we've hit that risk profile well in that decision-making profile.
Through Mr. Chair, I believe so. It was an item that had to be done, and we would have lost a lot of infrastructure and cost a lot more money had we not taken the decisions we've had to take.
I suppose just to finalise this conversation, so your risk reward on there, and I've alluded to infrastructure damage. What was the scope of the infrastructure damage just to justify this decision to go forward with the project at an earlier date than was probably a safe risk profile?
Through Mr. Chair, that would be outside of my.
Take that on notice.
I'll take that on notice, and that's outside of my speciality.
All right, thank you.
Moving into capital expenditure side of things, here we had pretty well year to date spent just under $12 million, which is 28% of our budget overall. We have increased our budget with the vote from last in regards to Main Road 358 up to $41 million coming through. So we're a little behind if you look at it from a 4-month perspective. It's 33%. So we've still got a little bit of catch up, but there's a lot of lumpy stuff coming just to finalise our Main Road 358. Moving into our schedules on pages 11 through to 14. Here, apologise for it should be year to date October, not September. The 30 there, but it actually is October numbers coming through. So overall, as you can see, there's one vote in there, which is from the water fund, which is the 418,000, and the whole of the service function areas coming through. Our bank side of things, as you can see, the bank continues to drop away a little bit after we received all the funding coming through from the grant funding, which is understandable when you're looking at, Maino 358. It's coming up to fruition and finalisation by the end of this financial year, and we'll probably see the last lots of costs coming through into February next year. And then we'll be on a steady playing field. We should see some uptick in some of those numbers there, based on the fact that we're receiving some of the grant funding coming through that's been outstanding for a while from the Quiddles.
Through you, Mr. Chair. That figure of just under 20 million, we won't, with adjustments of grants coming through, etc., we won't expect to see that drop too much lower.
Yeah, you will on the basis of Maino 358. So you'll still, there's a fair bit of spending still to be done in regards to that, which we've received the grant funding already for. There's about probably another 2.6, I think offhand, to still come through from Maino 358, but you're going to spend probably another $4 to $5 million for that project.
Much of that $20 million is restricted assets. It's already money. And money is earmarked for other things, we're parking it and interest bearing account, getting a little bit help on it. But probably the more useful thing to look at in my view is if you look at the graph on the page bar, to look at the tracking between the overall investments, the investment which is the lower pink line, or purple and pink to me, and the black line, you'll see the black line includes the cash on hand as well as the investments. At the moment, there's a small but still useful gap between the two numbers, which indicates that our cash flow, while tight, is not extreme, is not in extremis. You'll see previously there have been points where it's become enormously close to indicators, possibly for a very short period of time, going in the wrong direction. Yes. But at the moment there is a small gap there, which is, while we're probably not something to be over celebratory now, it certainly is pleasing that there is that small surplus.
Yep. Thank you, Councillor. Moving on to page 16, you've got the investments there, so that's more or less depicts what our investment schedules are looking like. We're around that 4 to 4.2 at the moment coming through. On page 17, our loans coming through, I've made it a little bit bigger now, so you can see them coming through. So I've got on a landscape page. Then we move to the capital works, which is effectively from 18 through to page 25 coming into the mix, which more or less gives you the high level summary of where all the projects are sitting at this point in time coming down the mix. And then the final one is the vote, which is effectively one vote coming through for that water one, which the council's resolved previously. Any questions?
Councillors, happy for questions or comments? Are we happy to vote on all 7, including the adoption of the budget variation at the end there? Happy? Mover? Move, Councillor Stiles, second. Councillor Shields, all those in favour? The ayes have it. Move forward. Mr. Phelps with the property update, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just moving down through the property there, as you can see, we've got 43 properties, 40 of them released at this point in time. Overall, our list of released properties on page 28. And then our property strategy progress of where we're sitting at this point in time. I suppose trying to highlight on there. We've got Sermon Street, which we've got the DA through now, and we've got a confidential report in regards to Sermon Street coming through. Apart from that, we're pretty well moving forward. At the moment, council's receiving some offers on page 30 there, as you can see, for the 10 High Avenue, lot 3. So we're receiving that at this point in time. Apart from that, everything else is pretty well as read.
The unlisted properties, are they long-term? Are they long-term unlisted? And one of them, I assume, is 7 Sermon Street.
7, yeah. Overall, a lot of them have been unleased for a considerable point of time. If you look at the graphs coming through there, you can see where we've got our lease properties. It was a lot lower coming through, and we've increased that coming up on page 27. But we're always looking for leasing of those properties.
If the properties remain untenanted for some length of time, I assume at some stage the consideration will be given to moving them.
100%. Yeah, we'll always look at a position of where we sit with our property strategy, and if they are access to operations, then obviously we'll look at disposal.
Through you, Mr. Chair, maybe not entirely the right question, but there's an awful lot of work going on down at Campbell's Corner with scaffolding and all sorts of things. My understanding is that's mostly for the proposed library move, is that correct?
No, through you, Mr. Chair, a lot of that work is actually restoration work of Campbell's Corner, which is fully grant funded. So we received some grant funding in regards to all the awnings and facades around because they're actually deteriorating. So we've actually gone through that process. We've done a lot of compliance work inside the building as well, and some of that is library related. But it was more as bring up the fire spec.
Well, I understood it was fire spec actually.
Yeah.
So I understood it was fire spec. Okay, thank you.
So yes, so through the chair, it is progressing very well, and we should see that finalised very shortly.
That was my next question, thank you.
Yeah. Yes,
Sorry, it's
that's all right, councillor.
so it's just a sucking black hole of a thing, that building, it really is.
Thank you, councillor.
I asked no question, I didn't make the statement.
I think that's something to do a word there, councillor. But, I was just thinking, the scope of, now the leased properties, what's our financial, per annum financial, position on these leased properties, what's our total income?
Take on those, councillor, but Mr. Chair, but ultimately it's depicted in the budget. I'll turn that number on.
I just wonder, and I'm being lazy, and I'm sorry, because I could go back through and dig those out, but I just wonder if it would be, I've often looked at this report and thought, it'd be good if I just had a number at the bottom there. Could we maybe,
Yeah,
but,
notice we kind of supply that information.
thanks. All right, we've got to move it and note the report. Move councillor Stoll, second councillor Shields, all those in favour. The ayes have it, thanks Karen. We'll just move along for notation, grant report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We'll take it as read coming down. Just with the bottom of that, it's 27,207. I think that when you put 0.90 at the end of it, looks a hell of a lot bigger number than the ones above. When I looked at that this morning. But overall, you can see where we actually have had outcomes, or unfortunately we've missed out on some. We have a number of items that we're still waiting notification from the grant bodies in regards to applications we have put into the mix. And we've got the funding opportunities coming through, which we've submitted a couple already. When at the date of the printing of the reports, we had some closing on the 10th to the 11th there. So that one has been submitted into the mix. Have you taken any questions in regards to any of the funding on it?
Just with regard to the funding for emergency bottled water for Scone and Murrurundi,
Yep.
was that water actually made available? My vague recollection is that some sort of information about it, but never actually made it.
That all that cost there is effectively the cost that council went in to acquire water, bottled water. We supplied all the water we needed to all the, needed, facilities like the schools and hospitals.
That's what, when
Yeah. We still have a stockpile of water though, however, at council.
we still have stock.
Yeah.
Okay.
it wasn't made available to general
Yeah, there was.
populace, it was to the high risk.
To the high risk areas.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I think right back at the time, there was a suggestion the general populace
Yeah, but-
could or would get it,
Yeah.
but I never saw any.
No, it didn't reach the general populace coming through. Effectively, we only had it for the needy, or the more, required, high risk. Participants.
Yeah, fair enough, yeah.
Well, it's sort of paid for, though, so well done on facing that grant up.
Yes.
No further questions or comments, I've got to move the note, the grants report. Move Councillor Shields, seconded Councillor Williamson, all those in favour. I think the ayes have it. Now we do have a confidential committee ahead of us, so if I could please move that, well, I'll move that we move into closed committee, if I've got a second, please. Second, Councillor Stoll, all those in favour? The ayes have it.